When the first sirens wailed, no one knew it would be the last time they meant anything. The sky above what was once New Denver turned orange with smoke and panic. Streets once filled with traffic and laughter now echoed with screams, shattering glass, and the relentless shuffling of the dead. Among the chaos, Kara Reed, a 32-year-old former paramedic, sprinted through the smoke with a bloodied backpack and trembling breath. She didn't look back. Looking back got people killed. Just 48 hours ago, she'd been treating sprained ankles and handing out cough medicine at a pop-up clinic in Sector West. Now, that same clinic was burning, overrun by people who no longer resembled people. Kara had seen death before, but not like this. Not walking. Not biting. Not coming back. She reached the alley behind an old diner and ducked behind a rusted dumpster, panting. Her hands shook as she pulled out a map, one of the old paper ones. GPS stopped working yesterday. So had the cell towers. So had everything. Her eyes scanned the creased surface, circling a block in the city's north end, Zone D9, once a secure military quarantine zone. Rumors on the emergency radio said survivors had set up a safe camp there. Kara wasn't sure what she believed anymore. But it was the only plan she had. A soft sound broke through her thoughts, shuffling feet. Close. She held her breath, sliding lower behind the dumpster. The thing staggered past the alley, dragging a broken foot behind it. Its flesh was gray, its head cocked unnaturally to one side. Kara's eyes followed it, counting seconds. 1. 2. 3. Gone. Still holding her breath, she slipped the map back into her pack and slowly stood. She was about to leave when another figure emerged from the opposite end of the alley. Human. At least, it moved like one. Hey, the figure whispered. Don't run. I'm alive. Kara narrowed her eyes, one hand slowly reaching for the wrench hanging from her belt. Prove it. The figure raised both hands. He was young, maybe 20, with messy dark hair and a blood-streaked hoodie. Name's Finn. I've been hiding in the old hotel across the street. You're the first living person I've seen all day. Kara didn't lower her wrench. And you just happened to find me in this alley? I saw you from the 3rd floor. Figured it was now or never. His voice was shaking, but it didn't sound like fear. More like exhaustion. After a pause, Kara finally nodded. I'm Kara. Do you have anywhere to go? He asked. D9. North side. Finn's eyes widened. That's across 5 zones. You'll have to pass through the burnout blocks. I don't have a choice. He hesitated. I can help. I know some of the back streets. Places the infected don't go. She studied him for a moment. He was thin, pale, but alert. No visible bites. No twitching. No crazed look in his eyes. Maybe he was useful. Maybe he'd get her killed. But if he knew safer paths, it could make the difference. You slow me down, she said. I leave you behind. Finn nodded. Deal. Together, they moved. They passed through abandoned storefronts, shattered windows, and looted pharmacies. They heard moans echoing from ventilation grates, saw claw marks on metal doors. The city had fallen apart faster than anyone could have predicted. At one intersection, they ducked behind a wrecked bus as a group of 4 infected staggered by, groaning low like they still remembered how to suffer. Kara gripped her wrench. Finn held a crowbar. Don't. Wait it out, she whispered. After what felt like forever, the creatures disappeared around the corner. That was too close, Finn muttered, wiping sweat from his forehead. Welcome to the end of the world, Kara said. As dusk approached, they found temporary shelter in the basement of a church. Stained glass still hung in the windows, casting strange red and purple hues across the dusty pews. Kara barricaded the basement door with pew legs and shelves, then dropped to the floor, exhausted. Finn sat across from her, pulling out a can of cold beans. You ever think this would happen? He asked. Zombies. End of civilization. All of it? I stopped being surprised the moment the first dead man sat up in my ambulance, Kara replied. Now I just try to stay alive. Finn handed her the can. We'll make it to D9. I've got a good feeling. Kara didn't respond. Outside, the sound of the dead filled the air again, as constant now as the wind. She didn't believe in good feelings anymore. Only in the next step, the next breath, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, the collapse hadn't taken everything. By morning, the city had quieted, but not in a peaceful way. It was the stillness of something watching. Waiting. Kara pushed the church door open just enough to peek out. A scorched vehicle smoldered in the middle of the street. Blood trails dried into the sidewalk, leading toward cracked buildings with their windows smashed out. A pigeon pecked nervously at a severed hand, flapping away when it noticed her. Behind her, Finn tightened his backpack. Burnout blocks, huh? Looks welcoming. Kara stepped outside, wrench at the ready. It used to be a tech district. Government firebombed it 2 weeks ago to slow the spread. Didn't work. Great, Finn muttered. We're walking into a graveyard with no bones. They crossed the broken sidewalk, weaving through husks of torched cars and storefronts reduced to rubble. The scent of burnt plastic and rot made Kara's eyes water. Black ash coated everything, and each step sent up tiny clouds. We stay quiet, Kara said. They nest in the ruins. Some just sleep during the day. Not dead. Not fully. Wait, sleep? Finn's eyes widened. Zombies don't sleep. They do here, she said. Saw one curled under a desk back in the clinic. Breathing, slow. Like hibernating. When I made noise, it came alive fast. Finn's grip on his crowbar tightened. Noted. They moved building to building, careful not to touch anything loose. One wrong clatter could wake a dozen things lying in wait. Several times, they spotted unmoving figures slumped against walls, too still to be alive, too fresh to be forgotten. Kara didn't trust any of them. Halfway through the block, they came to a collapsed parking garage. Smoke still leaked from a pile of twisted concrete beams. Above it, a footbridge connecting two towers offered a possible route across the street, avoiding the clogged main avenue crawling with movement. If we go under, Kara said, we're cornered. Then we go over, Finn said, already heading for the fire escape. The rusted ladder groaned under their weight, but held. Inside the tower, the top floor office was blackened by soot and reeked of mold, but still navigable. They crept to the bridge, the floor beneath them creaking with each step. Halfway across, Kara froze. Below them, dozens of infected staggered through the street. Their skin was blistered and peeling from the bombings. Many dragged limbs or shuffled sideways as if forgetting how to walk. Some sniffed the air. Others just stood, twitching, sensing something. Finn crouched. They smell us? Kara shook her head. Not yet. But we make one sound. She motioned forward. Suddenly, a sharp metallic clang echoed. Finn had brushed his pack against a fallen metal sign near the railing. Every infected below stopped. Heads turned upward in perfect unison. Finn's face went pale. I didn't. Move! Kara hissed. They bolted for the opposite door. Below, howls erupted. The creatures swarmed the base of the towers like a hive stirred from sleep. Inside the second building, they tore down a side corridor and ducked into an old server room, slamming the steel door shut just as pounding footsteps approached. Finn grabbed a desk and shoved it against the door. Kara found a rolling cabinet and added it. The banging started almost instantly. Screeches. Scratching. Bodies slamming against the metal. They backed away slowly. That won't hold forever, Finn whispered. Kara looked around. A stairwell in the corner led down into darkness. Only one way left. With only a small flashlight, they descended. Each floor they passed was worse, broken furniture, scorched walls, and discarded shoes. One level had a child's drawing taped to the wall. A sun. A house. A family. Kara didn't let herself feel anything. At the bottom, they emerged into a sub-basement. Empty. Quiet. Kara moved toward a grated door leading to an old maintenance tunnel. She tried the handle, it opened. Finn glanced back up the stairs. We've outrun them? For now. They slipped inside the tunnel and pulled the door closed behind them. The tunnel stretched forward, endless and damp. Water dripped from broken pipes. The darkness swallowed everything beyond the flashlight's beam. But it was quiet. Too quiet. You trust this way? Finn asked. I trust it more than what's behind us. They walked for 10 minutes in silence. Then Kara stopped, flashlight flickering. Ahead, faint movement. Stop, she said. From the shadows, a voice whispered, turn that light off. Kara obeyed. Who's there? A small figure stepped forward. A girl, maybe 13. Dirt-covered, holding a slingshot and a backpack nearly bigger than her. Name's Lena, she said. You shouldn't be down here. The dark things move in these tunnels at night. What dark things? Finn asked. She didn't answer. Just pointed down the tunnel. That way's D9, she said. But you'll need more than light to survive what's coming. Kara exchanged a glance with Finn. There were worse things than zombies in the dark. And now they had no choice but to keep moving toward them. The tunnel behind them echoed with distant moans, but ahead, everything was still. Kara walked cautiously, the flashlight beam steady now, her other hand gripping the wrench. Finn followed close, his crowbar ready. Between them walked Lena, barefoot, silent, eyes scanning every shadow like she had done this 100 times before. This tunnel really leads to D9? Kara asked under her breath. Lena nodded without looking back. Parts of it. The old service corridors go under the burnout blocks and past the railway line. But they're not safe. Especially past the third fork. Kara frowned. What's at the third fork? Lena stopped. Things that don't moan. Things that watch you but don't move. You only hear them once. If they come close, you won't get another chance to listen. Finn scoffed, trying to lighten the mood. Creepy cryptic kid. Great. Lena turned, dead serious. Laugh again when the lights go out. The silence after that was heavier. They passed graffiti on the tunnel walls, scrawled warnings in spray paint. Don't go alone. Stay in the light. Eyes in the dark. Lena moved fast, like she knew every turn by heart. When the tunnel split, she always chose quickly, never hesitating. Kara kept a mental note of each turn, but the maze twisted in a way that made direction meaningless. There were no stars, no windows, no wind. Just darkness and the steady drip of water echoing off concrete. Finn shivered. Why were you down here alone anyway? I wasn't, Lena said flatly. I was with a group. 3 others. We came looking for D9 last week. Took shelter in one of the maintenance bays. First night, one of us vanished. No screams. No blood. Just gone. What happened? Kara asked. Lena's eyes glinted. We stayed in the dark too long. Suddenly, Kara raised her hand, halting them. A sound ahead, soft, metallic. Like chains dragging. They crouched behind an old support beam, killing the flashlight. The air grew colder. From the black, something emerged. Not fast. Not loud. But wrong. It moved like smoke, like its limbs bent the wrong way. Too tall to be human, but too smooth to be undead. No eyes. No face. Just a shifting outline of something that didn't belong. Lena held her breath. Kara did too. The creature paused, sniffing the air. It turned its head slowly toward them, though it had no visible eyes. Then, just as quietly, it drifted away down a side corridor, vanishing into the dark. Kara didn't speak until the sound of chains faded completely. What was that? Lena whispered, "We called it a watcher. They're not zombies. They're something else." Kara steadied her breathing. "Why are they down here?" "Some say they came after the collapse. Others think the infection made more than just zombies. Changed the world under the ground too. Places where rules don't apply anymore." "Perfect," Finn muttered. As if the world wasn't broken enough. They moved again, faster now. At the third fork, Lena stopped. "We're close," she said. "But there's a stretch ahead with no working lights." "None. We need to go in blind." "No," Kara said. "There has to be another way." "There isn't. And if we wait here, the Watchers will circle back." Kara weighed her options. Stay and get surrounded, or go into pitch black with something they didn't understand. Finn stepped forward. "Let's just get it over with." Kara took a deep breath and turned off the flashlight. Darkness swallowed everything. Not even their hands were visible in front of their faces. "Hold hands," Lena whispered. "I'll lead." "No talking." Kara reached out, found Lena's wrist. Finn took Kara's hand. They moved forward, three shadows in a place where light dared not enter. Step by step, the tunnel felt tighter. The air was thick, like walking through syrup. Kara could hear her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Somewhere far off, something scraped along the walls. Once, she felt something brush her shoulder. She flinched, but didn't cry out. Then, finally, a faint glow ahead. Lena picked up the pace. Almost there. They emerged into a utility room lit by a single flickering emergency bulb. Kara collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Finn dropped to his knees, pale and trembling. Lena stood like it was just another Tuesday. "That," Finn said, "was hell." Lena pointed to a steel hatch in the wall. "That's the last door. After that, we're out. But there's a catch." Kara stood up. "What now?" "The tunnel's been sealed at the other end. Metal gate, locked tight. You'll need a keycard. One of the guards had it. He died when the zone fell." "Where's his body?" Kara asked. Lena looked at the floor. "Inside the old checkpoint ahead. With the ones that got in." Finn stared at her. "Zombies?" "Worse," Lena said. "They used to be soldiers." Kara tightened her grip on the wrench. "Then let's go take it back." The steel hatch groaned as Kara pushed it open, revealing a narrow corridor lined with cracked concrete and faint red warning lights that blinked in irregular patterns. The air was thick with the sour stench of rot and rusted metal. Lena stepped in first, slingshot drawn, her expression unreadable. This was the old underground checkpoint before D9 was cut off. The military tried to hold the line here. Finn followed close behind, eyeing the walls nervously. "What happened?" "They failed." At the end of the corridor stood a heavy reinforced gate, bent inward from some massive force. Nearby, a flickering console was embedded in the wall, its screen cracked but still barely lit. A keycard reader blinked yellow. "That's the only way through," Lena said, pointing. "But the card's with the officer who died in the command post." "Through there." She motioned to a second door to the left, half open, hinges twisted like something tried to escape, not enter. Kara nodded grimly. "Let's make this quick." They stepped through the warped doorway and into what used to be a small military office. Desks were overturned. Bullet holes pockmarked the walls. Bloody handprints trailed across the ceiling. But no bodies. "Where are they?" Finn whispered. Kara crouched and examined a black patch on the floor. Burnt. Still damp. Whatever happened here hadn't been long ago. "They moved," she said softly. A low growl answered from the dark beyond the hallway. Finn backed up, hand trembling on his crowbar. "That came from the barracks." Kara motioned toward a supply room at the far end. "Lena, check that storage locker. Look for anything, keys, weapons, flares. We'll hold the hallway." The girl nodded and slipped away. Kara positioned herself just outside the hall, peering toward the barracks. The flickering light barely reached the edge of the door. From the shadows beyond, another growl rumbled, wet and slow. Then a figure appeared. It wore shredded fatigues, its body riddled with gunshot wounds that had long since stopped bleeding. Its eyes were sunken, dead, but it moved with terrifying precision. Not the sloppy shuffle of normal infected. It was faster. Smarter. Down! Kara shouted as it lunged. She sidestepped and swung her wrench, catching its arm and spinning it into the wall. It snarled and grabbed her jacket. Finn rushed in, jamming his crowbar into its shoulder. The creature didn't scream, it just fought harder. They slammed it into the floor, Kara driving her wrench into its head. It twitched twice, then went still. Finn panted. That was not a regular zombie. They were soldiers, Kara said. Enhanced maybe. Dosed with something to make them resistant. Or they changed slower. Which means they remember more, he said grimly. Lena returned holding a keycard and a military flashlight. Found them behind a crate. Along with this. She handed Kara a smoke grenade. Might be useful if more come. Just then, 3 more shadows darted at the far end of the barracks. Quick. Silent. Controlled. Move! Kara barked. They sprinted back into the corridor, Kara swiping the keycard at the gate. The machine beeped, then buzzed. A mechanical voice crackled, manual override required. No! Finn shouted. Kara yanked open the panel beneath the reader. Wires damaged. I can jump it, but I need 30 seconds. You've got 15. Finn shouted, as the enhanced infected charged down the hallway. Lena hurled her smoke grenade into the corridor. It hissed, releasing a thick white cloud that swallowed the charging infected. Screams echoed as they crashed into the walls, temporarily blinded. Kara's fingers worked fast, twisting wires and bypassing the control unit. Sparks flew. Behind them, a shadow burst through the smoke, tackling Finn. He screamed, holding the thing off with both hands. Lena pulled a shard of broken metal from her belt and stabbed it through the infected's neck. It gurgled and collapsed. The gate clanked open. Go! Kara yelled, pulling Finn to his feet. They raced through just as the last enhanced infected lunged at the closing gate. Its fingers reached through the narrowing gap until the steel slammed shut, severing its arm. They collapsed against the opposite wall, coughing and shaking. Kara stared at the gate. They're evolving. Finn wiped blood from his cheek. That wasn't survival instinct. That was coordination. Lena sat cross-legged on the floor, calm as ever. We should keep moving. D9 is less than a mile from here. Kara nodded. Then let's end this tunnel nightmare. As they moved ahead, the corridors changed, cleaner, newer. Signs of life returned. Spray-painted arrows, recent footprints, bits of trash. Someone had been this way recently. Finally, they reached a ladder leading up to a sealed hatch. Daylight seeped around its edges. Kara climbed first, unlatched the hatch, and pushed it open. Warm air rushed in. The sound of distant generators hummed. She looked out, and saw a tall wall of metal and makeshift barricades. Beyond it, rows of tents and guarded towers. D9. They made it. But even as Kara helped the others up, she felt it in her gut, this wasn't the end. D9 might be safe from the infected, but something worse was coming. Kara blinked against the sudden brightness as she emerged through the hatch. The wall loomed over them, at least 20 feet high, built from salvaged metal, shipping containers, and sandbags. Watchtowers lined the top, each one manned by armed sentries in mismatched gear and armor. This was D9. She helped Lena and Finn out of the tunnel and onto solid ground. The space just beyond the wall was a checkpoint, barbed wire fences, overturned military trucks, and a line of sandbags shaped into a half circle, pointing guns inward as much as out. A voice rang out from above. Hands in the air. Drop your weapons. Kara raised her arms slowly, her wrench falling to the gravel. Finn hesitated before doing the same. Lena, calm as ever, placed her slingshot gently on the ground. 3 guards approached, rifles aimed. Their uniforms were patchwork, bits of old army fatigues and scavenged armor plates. But their faces were hard, and their fingers hovered over triggers like they'd done this 100 times before. The lead guard, a woman with close-cropped hair and a deep scar across her jaw, stepped forward. You came from the tunnels? Kara nodded. We escaped from the south side. Burnout blocks. We're clean. The guard's eyes narrowed. Everyone says that. Another guard stepped forward with a handheld scanner and swept it over their bodies. It beeped green on all 3. No fever. No residue, he muttered. The leader still didn't lower her gun. Name? Kara Reed. Paramedic. This is Finn, and that's Lena. At Lena's name, the woman paused. Lena? The girl from Sector H? Lena stiffened but nodded. The guard finally lowered her weapon. You're lucky. They've been looking for you. She motioned them forward. Come. Commander Grant will want to speak to all of you. As they passed through the inner gate, D9 revealed itself, less like a base, more like a desperate town behind walls. Tents stretched across cracked pavement, children played near barrel fires, and armed patrols moved in groups of 4. The smell of boiled rice mixed with engine oil and sweat. People stared at the newcomers. Some with curiosity. Others with suspicion. Kara felt it immediately, D9 wasn't just a sanctuary. It was a pressure cooker. They were led through the center of the camp to an old municipal building, repurposed with sandbags and watchlights. Inside, the walls were lined with maps, radio equipment, and whiteboards scrawled with names and locations. Behind a desk stood Commander Ellis Grant, a former colonel with a metal brace on one leg and eyes that missed nothing. He didn't smile. You came through the burnout blocks? He asked. Kara nodded. We followed the service tunnels. Found the old checkpoint sealed but forced it open. That checkpoint was sealed for a reason, he said coldly. We've lost 2 patrols trying to contain what's beneath. You 3 might have just opened the back door for whatever's down there. Lena stepped forward. It was already coming. We didn't bring it. We outran it. Grant's eyes narrowed. You're Lena, aren't you? Your father used to run recon for us. He died weeks ago. Grant nodded, surprisingly soft. He was a good man. Then his tone turned sharp again. We've got a new threat. Enhanced infected. Ex-military, fast, coordinated. You seen them? We fought them, Kara said. They're not like the others. They think. Grant sighed and leaned on the desk. We've had sightings too. They hit one of our supply convoys 3 days ago. 8 dead, no screams. Just silence and blood. I need intel. And if you 3 survive them, then you've got something we don't. Finn glanced between them. What are you asking? Simple, Grant said. You stay here, you work. Help us map the tunnel network. Scout the ruins above. If D9 is going to last, we need more than walls, we need answers. Kara hesitated. She'd come here for safety, not another fight. But the truth was, nowhere was truly safe anymore. And if the enhanced were spreading, then the walls would eventually fall unless someone did something. I'll help, she said. But we want supplies. Rest. And a place to stay. Grant nodded. Done. Report to Officer Cale in the morning. The guard from earlier returned to escort them out. That night, they slept in an old storage shed, finally under a real roof. The quiet was almost unsettling. Finn whispered from his cot, "We made it." Kara stared at the ceiling. This is just halftime. Outside, the guards rotated shifts. The generators hummed. And in the distance, beyond the barricades, something watched. Something learning. The morning came with the sound of hammering and the low hum of generators. Kara awoke to filtered sunlight streaming through gaps in the tin roof, and for a moment, she almost forgot where she was. Then came the coughs, the shouting of orders, the distant cries of children, and the memory of the tunnel, the enhanced infected, and the weight of what still lurked beyond the walls. She sat up and found Finn already awake, sitting cross-legged near the door, sharpening the edge of his crowbar with a file someone had loaned him. Lena was gone. She left before dawn, he said. Said she knew someone here. Wanted to check in. Kara stretched her arms, the soreness reminding her of every fight, every sprint, every sleepless hour. We're not resting long. Commander Grant wants us out scouting. Finn frowned. We've been here less than a day. You think he really trusts us, or just wants us to be bait? Probably both, Kara replied. Soon, a soldier knocked and handed them a map, hand-drawn and faded, with red XS marking tunnel intersections, blocked entrances, and known infected zones. Their assignment was simple on paper: recon a suspected breach point northwest of the walls and return before nightfall. They geared up, receiving new boots, 2 canteens, a flare gun, and enough protein bars to last a day. Before leaving, Kara insisted on seeing Lena. The guards pointed her to a medical tent near the wall. Inside, she found Lena speaking with an older woman, gray-haired, sunburned, and wearing a faded blue armband. Kara approached quietly. She came back, the woman said, noticing Kara. Thank you for keeping her alive. I didn't keep her alive, Kara replied. She kept us alive. Lena looked up. You leaving already? We've got a job. Lena handed Kara a small notepad. These are names. People who disappeared near that area you're going to. If you find signs, notes, tags, anything, bring them back. Kara pocketed the list. We will. The northwest quadrant was quieter than expected. The city here had crumbled slower, less fire, more silence. Trees had begun to overtake the pavement, weeds growing through cracks like nature itself was reclaiming the world. As they passed a hollowed-out building, Finn spotted something painted on a brick wall. Same symbol we saw underground, he said. A jagged circle with a black slash through it. Marking territory? Kara guessed. Or a warning. By midday, they reached the breach point. A large gap in the outer barricade, hidden by stacked debris, opened into a narrow alley filled with scorch marks. Kara crouched and examined the ground. Tracks, she said. Fresh. Finn's eyes narrowed. They came through here. They followed the trail into a crumbling warehouse. Inside, broken crates and shattered glass littered the floor. But something was off. No dust. No cobwebs. Like it had recently been disturbed. Smells clean, Finn whispered. Kara nodded. Too clean. Then they heard it, a faint tapping. Not footsteps. Not groaning. But calculated movement, like something crawling through rafters. She raised her wrench. We're not alone. Suddenly, the far wall exploded inward. A shape burst through, a humanoid figure in scorched tactical gear, its face twisted in a permanent snarl. Its eyes gleamed with recognition. Not mindless. Watching. Reacting. Kara ducked as it lunged, swinging her wrench. Finn rushed in with the crowbar, jabbing it under the creature's jaw. It hissed, not a growl, but a hiss of rage and pain. More shapes appeared behind it, 3 enhanced infected, all moving with military precision. They're hunting us. Kara yelled. She grabbed a flare from her belt and fired it upward. The light seared the ceiling, bursting in a blinding red flash. The infected staggered, shielding their eyes. Go! Kara shouted. They bolted from the warehouse and ran through the alley, turning corner after corner. The creatures pursued, moving faster than the average zombie. Smarter, too. They didn't chase blindly, they flanked, they forced them toward choke points. Kara spotted an overturned bus and shoved Finn behind it. They crouched, panting. "We can't outrun them forever," he said. "We're not going to." She pulled a small charge from her pack, one of the emergency firebombs they were given in case of tunnel breach. Lighting the fuse, she tossed it toward the mouth of the alley just as one of the infected rounded the corner. The explosion sent up a wall of fire. They didn't wait to see if it burned them. 15 minutes later, they reached the outer patrol line and waved down the nearest guards. Back inside D9, a crowd had gathered near the central tower. People whispered. Soldiers ran with radios. Something had changed. Lena found them near the supply tent, eyes wide. "They're here," she said. "Not just the infected. The enhanced." Scouts saw one on the southern ridge. Kara looked toward the wall, where soldiers lined up with rifles and scopes. Spotlights turned outward. Barricades doubled. The siege had begun. And Kara knew, whatever was coming, it wasn't just about survival anymore. The first siren blared at 3:17 a.m. A long, wavering cry split the stillness, followed by the frantic sound of boots pounding dirt and rifles loading. Kara jolted awake in the darkened storage shed, hand already reaching for her wrench before she was fully conscious. Finn sat up at the same time, eyes wide and alert. "It's happening," he said. "They're here." Outside, the camp had transformed. Spotlights bathed the perimeter in harsh white light. Soldiers ran in coordinated formation, yelling orders into radios and carrying crates of ammunition to the towers. Families were herded into interior shelters. The children didn't cry, they'd been taught better by now. Fear cost time. Time cost lives. Kara stepped out and looked toward the southern wall. Shadows moved beyond the fence, shapeless, shifting, but unmistakably human in outline. Dozens of them. Too fast for traditional infected. Too still for mindless husks. "They're watching," Lena said behind her. She wore a scavenged chest plate and had her slingshot looped around her wrist. Like wolves testing a fence. Commander Grant stood at the base of Tower 3, barking into a radio. Kara and Finn approached as Lena fell into step beside them. "They're massing," Grant said without looking up. "We count 70 at the southern ridge, but they're not charging. They're waiting." Coordinated. Finn swallowed. "That's not normal infected behavior." "No," Grant agreed. "This is organized." Kara scanned the ridgeline. "They're testing us. Looking for weaknesses." "They won't find any," Grant said, but his jaw clenched with uncertainty. Suddenly, the eastern tower let out a burst of gunfire. A scout shouted from above, "Movement!" "They're flanking." "They're probing all sides," Kara muttered. "They're surrounding us." Grant turned to Kara, grim determination on his face. "We need eyes on their command point. If they're this coordinated, someone, or something, is leading them. I want to know what." "You want us outside the wall?" she asked. "You've been through worse," he said. "And you move better than half my patrols." Kara hesitated. It was a suicide mission, but every second they stayed inside the walls, the enemy learned more. D9 could hold for a day. Maybe 2. But after that? She nodded. "We'll go." Grant handed her a beacon. "If you see something big, use this. It'll mark the location for our drones, if they survive long enough to scan." "Drones? Last 2 I sent didn't return," he said. "But if you get this lit, we'll know where to strike." They suited up, stealth gear, thermal cloaks, silenced weapons. Lena insisted on going. Grant tried to object, but Kara stood by her. She knows these paths better than anyone. At 4:23 a.m., under cover of shadows, the 3 of them slipped through a utility hatch on the north side. Outside the walls, the night was colder. The silence louder. They moved along a dry riverbed, taking shelter behind rocks and crumbled walls. In the distance, glowing eyes blinked in and out of the darkness. "They're not chasing," Finn whispered. "Why?" They're guarding something, Lena said. We're getting close. 20 minutes later, they spotted it, a clearing near the ridge where the enhanced infected moved like soldiers around a central figure, taller, more grotesque. Its head was misshapen, a helmet fused into flesh. Its back pulsed with something mechanical, glowing faint blue. It didn't snarl. It gave signals, raising its hand, pointing, directing. The others obeyed. A commander, Kara breathed. It's running this siege. She raised the beacon. Just as she activated it, a twig snapped behind them. They turned. One of the enhanced was crouched just feet away, watching. It hadn't attacked. It had followed them. Silently. Patiently. Now, it lunged. Kara shoved Lena aside as the thing collided with her, knocking her into the dirt. It snarled and raised a blade made from bone and metal. Finn tackled it from the side, jamming his crowbar into its ribs. Kara scrambled to her feet and swung her wrench, connecting with its temple. The infected fell, twitching, then went still. But the commotion had drawn attention. More shadows turned from the ridge. The commander looked directly at them. We run, Kara gasped. They bolted downhill, back toward the outer fence. Behind them, the enemy gave chase, but slower now, not reckless. Not wasting themselves. Strategic. By the time they reached the hidden hatch, sirens were blaring again. Inside D9, soldiers scrambled as the flare from the beacon streaked across the sky. Kara collapsed near the gate, breath heaving. They're coming, she said. But now we know how. Grant arrived moments later, reading data off the beacon's signal. Then we strike first. Kara looked up at him. You sure about that? He nodded. If we don't, D9 falls by morning. Part 8 title, Last Stand at D9. The sun rose red over D9, casting long shadows across the barricades. It was the kind of sunrise that felt like a warning, not a promise. Kara stood on the southern wall with her gear tight, bloodstains dried on her sleeves, and her eyes locked on the horizon. The enhanced infected weren't hiding anymore. They stood out in the open, unblinking, dozens of them at the base of the ridge, waiting for a signal. Behind them, at the crest, the commander creature loomed. It didn't roar. It didn't move. It just watched. Grant stood beside Kara, checking his tablet. The beacon data had confirmed everything. These weren't zombies, they were something worse. A mutation. A hybrid of infection and military biotech gone wrong. Built to control, not destroy blindly. Our drones are armed, Grant said. We hit that ridge, and maybe we break their line. Maybe. Kara stared at the approaching figures. And if it doesn't work? He didn't answer. The walls had been reinforced overnight. Machine guns positioned at every tower. The remaining fuel stockpiled to power the last-run turrets. Even children were sent to bunkers, deep in the central supply hall. Everyone else prepared to fight. Finn and Lena joined Kara on the wall. Finn had taken a rifle this time. Lena held a satchel of homemade explosives, each one labeled with duct tape and hope. Kara turned to them. No matter what happens, if the walls fall, don't look back. You find a way out. Finn smirked. If the walls fall, I'm going down swinging. Lena gave a small nod. I don't run from monsters. A long, hollow sound echoed across the field. Not a scream. Not a battle cry. A deep mechanical hum from the creature on the ridge. The horde moved. Here they come, someone shouted. Gunfire erupted from the towers. Muzzle flashes lit the dawn. The first line of infected sprinted, weaving through wreckage and smoke. They were too fast for standard rounds, some dropped, but others climbed over them like insects. The enhanced infected reached the wall within minutes. Explosions rocked the southern line. One turret jammed. Another was torn apart by 3 attackers working in perfect coordination. Kara swung her wrench at the first creature that climbed the ladder. It snarled and grabbed her wrist, but she twisted free, ducked low, and brought the weapon crashing into its skull. It dropped. Another took its place instantly. Below, the gate rattled as bodies slammed into it. Grant barked into a radio, "Drones are a go. Target the ridge, take out the commander." Overhead, 2 drones buzzed into view, weaving toward the enemy leader. Then a screech, one was struck by debris hurled by an enhanced. It spiraled out and exploded midair. The second made it. A fireball erupted at the top of the ridge. The infected paused, just for a heartbeat. Some stumbled. Others screamed. Kara saw the commander fall, its mechanical pack ripped apart in the blast. And then, the infected went wild. No more coordination. No more silence. They howled in confusion, in pain, in rage. They're disoriented. Grant shouted, "Push now!" Kara, Finn, and Lena moved to the ladder, climbing down to the inner yard. Troops opened the outer gates slightly, just enough to let out a strike team. Kara joined them, leading the charge. They pushed forward, grenades flying, rifles firing. The disorganized infected were vulnerable, stumbling into each other, some turning on their own. But it didn't last. From the smoke came a new figure, taller, darker, its body still burning from the drone blast. The commander hadn't died. It roared now, louder than anything before, and the infected surged. Kara turned to Finn. "Cover me." She ran straight toward the creature, Lena following at her side. The satchel of explosives swung from the girl's shoulder. The commander charged. Its arm became a blade of fused bone and steel. Finn fired round after round to distract it, while Kara ducked under a swing and tackled the monster's legs. It stumbled, just long enough. Lena planted the satchel on its back and yanked the cord. They ran. 10 seconds later, the blast threw them off their feet. When Kara opened her eyes, the battlefield was silent. The commander's body lay twisted and burning. The horde froze, then collapsed. As if their minds had been severed. Kara sat up slowly, ears ringing. Around her, D9 soldiers emerged from cover. Some cheering. Some crying. They had won. She looked to her side. Lena, scraped but breathing. Finn, limping toward her, smiling through blood. Commander Grant approached, gun still smoking. "You 3, just bought us more than a day." Kara stood, shoulders heavy. "How much time?" Grant looked to the sunrise. "Maybe enough to matter." Kara stared out over the battlefield, the sun now burning away the smoke. For the first time since the collapse, she let herself believe. Maybe the world wasn't over yet.